I'll come back. I'm going to answer that question, which European market was the hottest housing market. We're going to take a look at the global story, because I'll tell you, it's not just Canada that's talking about hot housing. It's global. We'll do that with Ozzie Jurek when he comes back. We're going live to the trading desk in just a couple of minutes. You're just moments away from that. Drew Zimmerman will join me. You're something like 10 minutes away from my Goofy Award this week, but right now I'm joined by Ozzie Jurek on the line. Ozzie, I want to get right to it. I issued the challenge if people could guess what the hottest housing market in Europe is. And I think I can give them 10 guesses they're not getting this one. So I know you know the answer, so share it with us.
Well, the funny thing, of course, that this particular country saw a housing boom from 2002 to 2007 with prices surging by 70%, and then prices absolutely collapsed by almost 40% from 2008, 2010, because it had extreme exposure to the global crisis. And, of course, the place was Iceland.
Yeah. And let me just say that. I don't think anybody's got that one down pat.
But the thing
hey, let me just say this, Ozzie. Sorry, one of the things you've been talking to us about for ages is that you said, it's the biggest unreported inflation in history. What we get our official CPI number, and then you, of course, are following real estate, not just in this country, not just in the States. You're looking at it globally, and it tells a very different story. And that's what I wanted just to get a moment to get at this moment is, you look at the globally. You got real estate moving in a ton of markets.
Well, it's mind-boggling, and you're quite right. At every Outlook conference for almost 15 years, I've made the point that we don't put in our inflation basket the core inflation, headline inflation, anything that you and I buy. Rent, government services, healthcare, food, you name it. Anything that I go out and buy doesn't go up by 2% a year. I feel sorry for somebody earning $40,000. He goes to his boss, and the boss says, here's your increase. It's 2%. That's what the government says is inflation. And then he goes shopping, and nothing goes up at 2%. And particularly on the hard asset side, when we create money out of thin air and that money competes with the money you and I earn, then that settles down in hard assets. And man, go across the globe, China is still the best performer, but only in the tier 1 and tier 2 cities. 72 cities in China had price increases last year, but they were all in the big markets. Hong Kong is higher. Japan is higher. In Europe, Germany is higher. Romania, Ireland, Estonia. This is a house price index from Global Property Guide, which is sort of a really interesting report, because the only thing that's depressed are those economies that have a terrible economy, like Russia. Yes, it saw a price plunge by 9%. But everywhere else, whether it's the United States, isn't a single house in the United States that hasn't risen in prices. And I'm happy to say that the winners in the United States are all cities that we recommended on this show with you, Michael. And that was Seattle is now the winner, and Phoenix, and then Tampa, and so on. But all of them are rising far beyond the official inflation rate of 2%.
What was one of the things, though, that sort of took me back was certainly Iceland did. I wouldn't have guessed that one myself. Romania's done well, that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. When I'm reading an article that tells me that Europe is being super vibrant. And at first I went, really? And then I realized, of course, you got negative interest rates and zero mortgage rates. And I guess that's what's done it. But Europe has been, or at least several areas of Europe has sure experienced what you've just described.
Well, and I think I said it for years, that the big money is running away. They're fleeing their collapsing economies or currencies, and now the big money is really scared to death about the euro. You have pointed it over and over again, the importance of the elections in Europe and the general dissatisfaction everybody has with the government. Well, if you had $2 or $3 million euros, where would you go? And that's why we have German industrialists sitting in Vancouver paying $432 million for the Royal Centre. Or when you take a look at Iranians buying West Vancouver, or the Montreal condos being bought by Germans, or the waterfront, the money around the world, 8,000 millionaires, you and I talked about before, came to Canada last year. 82,000 are on the move worldwide, and they're coming. Canada is now rated one of the third largest in the world in order for safety and safe banks and so on. So we're going to actually see more foreign money, but it may not necessarily be Chinese money.
Okay, I want to skip gears just for a second, Ozzie, because we got the federal budget, and the last week and the week before you were saying, hey, you know what, look for changes possibly to how they tax your primary residence if you've had a home office in it. We didn't see that in the budget. Do you think it's still coming, though?
100%. We say it will definitely be coming. It's too scary to put it in now. But remember, it's already really there. It's never been enforced. Look, the first clue that is coming is that they make us report it. The second clue is that they put in $40 million to StatScan to really make sure that we do it. Then they go after tax evasion. And then look at private residences, the capital gains. They're drooling the idea that they can get a part of that back by simply accounting for your office in your home. So I'm absolutely convinced that it's going to be a tax grab. In fact, the minister said so in the House that there will be an exemption to the exemption, but it wasn't in this year's budget, so you're going to be okay with your tax returns, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
You know, and that's also what they've been doing in so many other areas. As you said, this is on the books, but it hasn't been enforced. You know, as you say, they put in, $40 million for more enforcement. Every year they put in more money, and I think you're going to see a much more aggressive federal government through their Canada Revenue Agency. So I'm really with you on that. Hey, let me end on something more cheerful. Got a hot property for me.
Well, the hot properties, what I'd urge people to do is go to Craigslist, go to the real estate section, go to assignments. And under assignment or assignments, currently there are almost 80 properties by owner where the owner wants to assign the property. And I would look for somebody that has 5 or 6 that he wants to flip. He's probably starting to get worried that he needs to close. And you might just pick up a good deal in assignments when you look in there. There's also realtors that are advertising them, but I like to shop where assignments are that owners post.
Interesting stuff. Ozzie, we'll chat with you next week. For more information, just go to jurock.com, JUROCK.com. Ozzie, what are you doing this weekend, by the way? Very quickly. Are you skiing? Are you golfing? Who are you torturing?
I don't like to tell you that I'm doing because you always rise my golf game, and I'm golfing out there.
Oh, my gosh.